The absolute easiest way to almost effortlessly, I'm going to argue, amp up your Circle community engagement on a bootstrap budget. Okay, so today's the 19th of April, 2022. This is Ian from Mindful Marketplace, and this audio is part of our Tiny Revolution series, a brand new publishing platform for authors, artists, teachers, trainers, coaches, makers, marketers, really anybody who has tiny ideas but wants to make a really big impact in 2022 and beyond. So this is just a little simple experiment that we did on a client project about somewhere around 30 days or so ago. I actually recorded this over the weekend in a video for our community that you may have seen, but it was at the end, and I want to make sure that this doesn't get lost on those of you who are launching a new Circle community or really any sort of software as a service niche community platform, whether you're using Heartbeat or even Buddy Press, Buddy Boss, Tribe, anything like that, this will work. All right, so here's what we did. Essentially, community building is hard, and no matter what other folks in the online guru sort of gimmick space tell you, it ain't easy work. So we bought a Etsy template. I actually, in the video that I recorded, said it cost $5. It didn't. It cost $2, it turns out. I just double checked that today, with icebreaker questions. And the icebreaker something I've never done before, but the icebreaker questions were just silly, goofy, irreverent, kind of fun questions that you ask your members that you put into like an introductions space or a welcome space, and you essentially just with a consistent pattern of posting these over the course of, let's say, 30 days, you just post a different funny meme-like icebreaker question that you ask your community to answer. And it could be something like the thing that was the most successful for this particular experiment was something with respect to sharing a picture, Google your favorite actor, when you were 13, and then post a picture of them today. And some people posted, pictures of both the actor or actress when they were kids and then again today, and people sort of opined and shared and laughed. And, there were some other things that were also really effective post, like the third letter of your name, and then find, like a fun activity, like that sort of stuff, or hot or not sort of questions, or, would you rather sort of questions. And these were things that were kind of antithetical to my expectation of being effective, but they were actually the most effective things that we did, far more than the cohort-based course content, which I, expected everyone was going to be most engaged and interactive with. That's why they, of course, ostensibly signed up for the community in the first place. But the more fun that you make these questions, and again, you can just buy, you don't have to even come up with these. You can just buy them. That's what we did. And then you have all these instant engagement things that you can add to your community. And here's the extra little top spin that you can inject into this process that will make it even more effective. I'll tell you two things. The first one is you can actually save these images to Pinterest, right? So you can create a lot of Pinterest activity or traffic back to your community by dint of these images. So you simply, install the Pinterest Chrome extension in our case, or whatever, Firefox extension, whatever you're using, or you can just pin them. I think Circle has the ability to pin from within the platform. I can't remember, but I use the extension for Chrome, and essentially you create a board and you just share these, which is going to drive traffic back to your community very, very quickly. Pinterest is really actually one of the most overlooked sources of really hyper niche traffic. It doesn't convert so well compared to like paid traffic or things like that. But it also is so easy to do, and it's so effortless that you can drive hundreds, sometimes thousands of visitors a day to a new site by dint of a really good, fun Pinterest board. And number two, if you're not using Circle, as you'll see in the video that I did over the weekend, or actually there's a couple videos I've done on this specific platform over the last couple days, you'll see that Heartbeat.chat, which is a brand new or newer software, SaaS for communities, actually has this very cool onboarding flow that allows you to ask questions that your users have to answer, or that you can either require or, kind of strongly recommend they answer to be part of the community. And those questions also go into an introductory space or an introduction space and are also attached to their profiles. So in that space, you'll have people who have their answers will be right there front and center, where everyone can see how they responded to each individual question. If you make those questions funny, like, Chachi, Fonzie, Richie Cunningham, or, like a Happy Days, who would you rather? Or, you just do fun, silly, stupid things like that. People are actually, and again, it depends a little bit on your audience. If you have a very serious sort of group of people, you may have to sort of, tailor this a little bit more to the kind of tone and tempo and personality type that you're interacting with. But in my experience, and I actually went back and looked, not because there was a little bit of a lever that was pulled to kind of lead us down this path, which was this particular client was originally using Mighty Networks. I've used Mighty Networks myself in the past as well. I don't really recommend them so much to people that I'm working with anymore. Excuse me. But one of the things that they recommend based on their own analytics is that you use their really kind of, they have like all these different poll post types and, hot or not sort of post types. You can drag you can drag like a measuring thing that changes the percentage of something like, 60%, 70%, 80%. So you can actually like vote that way. They just have some cool interactive poll/survey/meme kind of post types that, by their own admission, at least when I looked last, they were the most popular sorts of content on the Mighty Networks analytics, by their own accord, that these sorts of posts generated the most interest in their community. And this particular client had referenced that, asked if Circle had anything like that they could use, and of course they didn't. And then we went and looked at how we could work around that issue, and of course the Etsy icebreaker, graphics were the solution in that particular case. So I really recommend trying that. It's a great way of adding a shit ton of content to your site as well. You get the added benefit of, fun, and it keeps your attitude light and gentle and sort of interested in being entertaining as well as educational. And lastly, you have this added further benefit of getting lots of Pinterest traffic on the funny ones. The funnier they are, the more traffic that's going to generate. And you can even do some cool things where you actually encourage people on Pinterest to come to your site to answer them rather than just pinning the images and checking out your site naturally as well. So that really works. Lastly, don't forget, Heartbeat has this built in. Heartbeat is not quite as polished as Circle. It doesn't really have all the bells and whistles. I really like Heartbeat a lot. I think it's a platform that is a lot of fun to use both as an administrator and a user. But people that in my orbit who are building niche communities really tend to prefer at this point the Circle experience, simply because it's much more fulsome, it's much more complete, and Heartbeat is still sort of in its infancy and looks like it's iterating week over week and improving week over week rather than being a finished product. My dogs are about to bark, but rather than being a finished product, I think so. If you're ready to launch right now and you want something that out of the box just works, this approach will work really well with Circle. Teach what you know, do what you love, wake up the world with your work. Thank you as always so much for listening. If you need help with any of this or you want to reach out to me, send an email, mindfulmarketplace@gmail.com. We're also building a brand new publishing platform for authors who are writing tiny books, small books, tiny books, called A Tiny Book About. If you're interested in writing about topics like mindfulness, mental health, or inspiring kids, teens, or adults with mental health challenges, we'd love to talk to you about working with us to write a book that changes the world and hopefully your life or vice versa. Okie doke. Thank you so much as always for listening and have a wonderful day.